James was proposed to by his secretary. Will Tu Diep fight for happiness? The moonlight fell gently over the city skyline, casting silver shadows across the glass windows of James's high-rise office. It was late past midnight, but the CEO sat quietly at his desk, lost in thoughts of Tu Diep, the woman who had brought simplicity and warmth into his chaotic world. Her smile haunted him, especially tonight. Just then, a soft knock interrupted his silence. "Come in," he said, his voice tired. The door opened. Trang, his longtime secretary, stepped in wearing a sleek dress that shimmered under the office lights. She walked slowly toward him, her heels echoing like a drumbeat of tension. "James," she whispered, her voice trembling but determined. "I've loved you for years. I stayed beside you through every late night, every crisis. I never said anything, but I can't hide it anymore." He looked at her, stunned. Before he could speak, she knelt down right there on the marble floor and took out a small silver ring from her clutch. "Will you marry me?" she asked, eyes glistening with tears. James froze. Half a city away, Tu Diep was helping her grandmother cover the vegetable baskets in the market before the rain came. She had no idea what was happening at that moment in James's world, but her heart suddenly felt heavy, as if something fragile was slipping from her fingers. The story continues. James gently took Trang's hand and lifted her to her feet. "Trang," he said softly, "you have been loyal, and I respect you deeply. But I cannot say yes, because my heart already belongs to someone else." Tears welled in Trang's eyes, not from rejection alone, but from the crushing realization that she had waited too long to confess a love that would never be returned. The next morning, rumors flew like wildfire. Photos of Trang's proposal leaked. An anonymous email sent them to the media. Tu Diep saw it on her old phone, her breath catching in her chest. Was this real? Did James say yes? For the first time, doubt crept into Tu Diep's heart. She had always believed love didn't need to be chased, but maybe this time it did. Would she let someone else take what was hers? Would she fight not with anger, but with love, grace, and truth? Tu Diep stood in the morning rain, her dress soaked, determination in her eyes. "I will fight," she whispered, "not for pride, but for the happiness we both deserve." The morning sun barely pierced through the gray sky as Tu Diep boarded the first bus to the city. She sat silently by the window, rain tapping lightly against the glass like a ticking clock, urging her forward. Her mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, but one echoed louder than the rest. "I need to hear it from him." When she arrived at the company building, the lobby was already buzzing with gossip. Employees glanced at her with curious eyes, but Tu Diep walked past them with quiet dignity, her heart pounding. Upstairs, James sat behind his desk, his eyes staring blankly at the city below. The media storm had shaken him, but more than anything, the thought of Tu Diep seeing those photos without knowing the truth tore at his chest. A knock. He turned. The door opened slowly. Tu Diep stepped in, her clothes still damp, her face calm but unreadable. James stood up instantly. "Tu Diep, why?" She raised a hand gently. "I saw the photos." James stepped forward, his voice urgent. It was never what it looked like." She proposed. "I said no. I told her I loved someone else." Tu Diep's voice trembled, but her eyes held steady. "Did you tell her it was me?" Silence. A heartbeat passed. "No," he admitted softly. "Not yet. I didn't want to drag you into this mess. I wanted to protect you." She smiled, a bittersweet curve of her lips. Sometimes protecting someone means standing beside them, not hiding them. James walked up to her, rain still glistening on her hair. He reached out, gently brushing it away from her face. "You're right," he whispered. "I've been a coward in love, but not anymore." Their eyes met hand in that quiet office, with the city roaring outside. Time paused. "I don't want to lose you, Tu Diep," James said. "Not to rumors, not to fear, not even to my own mistakes." Tu Diep looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Then fight with me," she said softly, "for love, for us." Later that afternoon, a storm was brewing not just outside, but within the walls of James's company. Trang, the secretary whose feelings had been rejected, stood by the office window, watching the raindrops race each other down the glass. Her lipstick was smudged, her pride bruised. The photo of her kneeling in front of James had already gone viral within the company. Some pitied her, others mocked, but none knew the fire burning inside her. Tu Diep had returned, and James had chosen her. Trang clenched her fists. She wasn't just angry, she was heartbroken. The door swung open. James and Tu Diep entered the staff lounge together, their presence commanding attention. Whispers floated through the air like smoke. Trang stepped forward, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Her smile was cold. "Well," she said, voice laced with venom, "what a beautiful picture you to make." James narrowed his eyes. "Trang, this isn't the place." "Oh, but it is," she snapped. "You let everyone think I was going to be the one beside you. You smiled when I handed you coffee, stood by your side at meetings, stayed overtime just to keep the company afloat. I gave you years of loyalty." Tu Diep stepped forward. "Loyalty doesn't mean love, Trang." Trang turned to her, fury flashing. "And what do you know of love? Picking flowers in the countryside and selling them by the road. You think that qualifies you to stand beside a CEO?" There was a pause. The room went still. Tu Diep didn't flinch. Her voice was calm but strong. "I don't need a title. I just need to love him truly. And he needs the kind of love that's honest, not controlling, not possessive, just real." James looked at Tu Diep, pride in his eyes. "Trang," he said, his voice low but firm, "I'm grateful for your service, but this ends now. Your behavior today has crossed the line." Trang's breath caught. "Are you firing me?" "No," James replied. "I'm giving you the chance to resign." With dignity, for a long second, she stared at him, at both of them. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out, her heels echoing down the hallway like the last beat of a fading heart. That night, under the golden glow of city lights, James and Tu Diep stood on the rooftop of his building. He took her hand, kissed her knuckles, and whispered, "Thank you for staying." Tu Diep leaned on his shoulder and smiled. "Let's keep fighting for happiness, together." Weeks passed after Trang's resignation. The company slowly settled back into its rhythm. But for James and Tu Diep, things were just beginning. One quiet morning, James invited Tu Diep to the countryside where her grandmother used to live. The road was long and quiet, lined with fields of golden rice swaying in the wind. Tu Diep looked out the car window, her heart filled with nostalgia. "Why are we coming here?" she asked, curiosity lighting her eyes. James smiled. "You once told me this was the place you felt most safe. I want to understand your world the way you've tried to understand mine." Tu Diep's heart softened. No one had ever said something like that to her before. When they arrived, James rolled up his sleeves and helped her harvest vegetables, clean the yard, and even fix a broken gate. Tu Diep laughed watching him struggle with the bamboo basket, clearly out of his comfort zone, but trying. That night, they sat by the fire under the stars, a simple meal of rice, boiled pumpkin, and wild herbs between them. There were no suits or meetings, no fancy restaurants or red carpets, just the two of them, and the sound of crickets in the distance. James reached into his pocket. Tu Diep's breath caught. It wasn't a ring. It was a folded piece of paper, a property deed. "I bought back this land," James said quietly. "For your family, for our future." Tears welled into Tu Diep's eyes. "This land, this was taken from us years ago." James nodded. "I know. My father's company had a role in that. I can't erase the past, but I can build something better from here." Tu Diep leaned in, tears streaming freely. "You didn't have to. I wanted to," he said. "Because love isn't just flowers and promises. It's showing up. It's taking responsibility." She took his hand, her fingers trembling. Then yes, James blinked. "Yes, yes," she whispered, smiling through her tears. "I will fight for this happiness. I will fight for you." They embraced under the stars, to broken souls learning to love again, to heal, and to build something no one could destroy. Not jealousy, not pride, not even the past, just them. Love is not just about grand gestures, it's about standing together in difficult times. This story reminds us that true love is built not on luxury or perfect circumstances, but on trust, honesty, and emotional courage. When Tu Diep saw James being proposed to by someone else, she was hurt, confused, and afraid. But instead of walking away in silence, she chose to fight not with anger, but with faith in their bond. James, too, made mistakes, but his willingness to take responsibility, to understand Tu Diep's world, and to rebuild what his family had once damaged, showed that redemption is possible. When we act with sincerity, jealousy can destroy, but kindness can heal. Trang, the secretary, let her jealousy consume her. In contrast, Tu Diep stayed grounded in love and respect. This contrast teaches us that envy leads to destruction, while genuine care builds bridges, even over painful pasts. The most meaningful relationships are those that grow through trials, through all the heartbreak, misunderstandings, and family burdens. Tu Diep and James discovered that love isn't about avoiding pain but about choosing each other, even when it's hard. Moral of the story: fight for what matters not with noise, but with quiet courage and compassion. Because real happiness is never just given, it's chosen every day again and again. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words, but love demands expression. Tu Diep's silence when she saw James and his secretary wasn't weakness. It was the weight of her emotions, the fear of losing what she had barely begun to trust. Yet through this silence, she realized that unspoken feelings can lead to misunderstandings, and that true love deserves to be expressed, even when it's hard. People who truly love you don't leave when things get complicated. They stay, ask questions, and try to understand. James could have turned away, let pride or confusion keep him distant, but instead, he chased after truth. He chose to protect what really mattered, not his reputation, not the secretary's admiration, but Tu Diep's heart. You can't control how others feel, but you can control how you respond. Trang, the secretary, tried to win love through manipulation and force. But love isn't something you can steal or demand. It has to be earned, nurtured, and returned freely. Her actions show what happens when ego takes the place of empathy. Forgiveness is powerful, but only when paired with accountability. Tu Diep didn't forgive James blindly. She waited, she watched, and she made sure his actions matched his words. This teaches us that forgiveness is not weakness, it's wisdom guided by patience. Final thought: in love, we don't always win with strength. We win by staying honest, choosing kindness, and holding on when it matters most. Real love requires courage, not only to hold on, but also to stand up for it. Tu Diep could have walked away quietly, convincing herself that she didn't belong in James's complicated world. But instead, she chose to stay and fight not with anger, but with dignity. She reminded us that the strongest kind of love is the one that refuses to be erased by fear. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to understanding. When James rejected Trang's proposal, he wasn't cruel, he was clear, and clarity is kindness. In relationships, it's important to know when to draw a line, to protect your heart, and also to respect the hearts of others. James's ability to be firm but respectful showed emotional maturity and integrity. Jealousy is a mirror, not a weapon. Trang's jealousy didn't come from Tu Diep, it came from her own reflection. Her need for validation, her insecurity, and her hunger for something that wasn't truly hers. This teaches us that when envy takes root, we must look inward, not outward, to heal.